The question is, how do you know that what you're teaching is the handle of truth? Because one Sunday I heard you tell me you were teaching the truth, and then I went to church and that person was telling me it was the truth. Mm-hmm. And it confuses me and makes me, oh well, that can't be true, and so it's hard to listen and.
Sure. No, what you're asking is not an odd question. It's actually a crucial question. This is indeed the problem, is that when we approach spiritual life, what we find is that indeed not even just people who present themselves as spiritual authorities, everyone is convinced that they have the truth. The bus driver, everybody, even if they don't state that, they live as if they do know the truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to even engage in any action. Everyone, at least to their mind, thinks that, well, of course I know what I'm doing. Then again, the person who's about to inject himself, for the 1,000th time with heroin also thinks that they know what they're doing. Talk to them. They'll tell you, hey, no, I know what I'm doing. No, it may not make sense to you, but no, for them, that is truth. Several things to be said about this. First of all, the mere subjectivity of truth, in other words, the idea that everyone thinks that they have the truth, in itself does not negate the idea that there is an objective truth. Okay, that's one thing that's very important. Because sometimes philosophical relativists will use this as an excuse. Well, everyone says that they have the truth, therefore it must be that no one has the truth. No, that's not the conclusion. If we know that the simple mathematical equation that 1 + 1 = 2, if we know that we have 5 people in a room and one person says 1 + 1, oh, it equals 57. Or another person, 1 + 1, oh, it equals a fire engine. 1 + 1, and on like this. And let's say that of the 5 people, only one of them knows what it actually equals, 1 + 1 = 2. Does the fact that 4 of the people have different answers negates the fact that one of the answers is indeed correct regardless of that fact? It doesn't. In fact, let's go even further. Let's say that even the 5th person were to get the answer wrong. Oh, 1 + 1 = a dinosaur. So you have 5 people, you ask them the simple question, 1 + 1 =, and they all get it wrong. Does that mean that therefore there is no objective true answer to the question? Of course not. There is a true answer to the question, and it's axiomatic. It's something, the denial of which would lead to a logical absurdity. Well, that's the first thing. Merely the fact that you have so many people all claiming that they know the truth, that does not negate the fact that there is a truth. So let's begin with that. The other thing is this. Where the burden lies upon is with us. Okay? As individuals who want to know the truth, and okay, we have, again, to use a similar analogy, we have visited 5 houses of worship, and we've now had 5 spiritual authorities say, they bang their podium, this is the truth. Okay? At this point, understanding that there is a plurality of opinion here, what we need to now do is use what? Every single tool that we have in our toolbox in order to now acquire what is the actual truth. It's an interesting thing when people use only one aspect of themselves. They use only intellectualism, or they use only emotion, or frankly, they use only meditation. but without philosophy, without anything else, to try to know the truth. They use only theology. They use only the scriptures, etc. Rather, what we are meant to do is to use quite literally every single tool that we have in a balanced way to understand the truth. Okay? Now, having said all this, you remember what I was talking about before. You cannot seek something unless you even know what the definition is. This is why spiritual inquiry begins first with ourselves. And what does this mean? Okay, I want to know the truth. Well, wait a minute. Let me analyze. What do I mean by that? What is this truth that I wish to know? And more, why? Why? Again, what is this truth that I wish to know? Do I simply wish to know how to make the best chocolate ice cream on earth? What's the recipe for that? Or do I want to know what is the summum bonum? What is the highest thing that there is to be known in all of reality? And there's a tremendous spectrum between the two. So that's the first thing. What am I seeking? Okay. Number two, let's say I even come to the conclusion that, oh yes, what I'm seeking God. Yeah. Oh, I'm seeking the highest. Really? Why? That's B. See, even those individuals who claim, oh yes, I'm seeking God, I want God. Why? Are you using this word God as code word for really something else that's within you that you're actually seeking? Or are you truly seeking to know the absolute and for the sake of knowing that absolute? In other words, is your inquiry as pure as it can be? All right? Now, with this as a starting point, now we have more of an ability to define what it is that we are seeking. You see? Because again, that definition is everything. That definition is everything. You know, you mentioned that you went to church. A lot of people go to church, but for what purpose? Most people go to church to socialize. You see? You know? We need to know the definition of what it is that we are seeking. So now, knowing this, and you know, I'm not even going to go into what the definition is. That should come naturally. That should just come very naturally, as just an inherent part of who we are. If we know we're seeking the highest, if we sincerely seek the highest, we just know. Okay, well, what is the definition of that? Is it something that is evil or good? Well, if it is the highest, necessarily it's good. Is it something that is of the nature of ignorance or of the nature of true knowledge? Well, necessarily it's of the nature of true knowledge. See, in this way, just very naturally, we begin to define what is it that we are seeking. And defining it actually is important. It's not the all in all. See, some people will get trapped and say, oh, well, we can't define God. We can't put words upon God. No, but they can help. They can definitely help. It's a starting point. Okay? So little by little, again, we begin to know what it is that we are seeking. Now, at this point, we have the actual true ability to use, again, all the tools that I was mentioning. Now we have the ability to use discernment, to use philosophy, yes, to even use logic, not be dependent on logic. Logic simply, again, is one of the tools. We have the ability to use our own intuitive sense. We have the ability to go within and to have transcendent experiences and to use those also as a means of knowing what is true, what is not true. Now we have the ability also to look at the scriptures, read the scriptures. We have the ability more, and now this is of great importance, what I'm about to say now. And this hopefully will, in fact, answer your question very directly. Also, we have to have the ability to go to individuals who are proper sources of knowledge, people. Okay? Now this begs the question, of course, of what you were just talking about. Well, okay, I can go to 1,000 churches and I'll have 1,000 spiritual leaders telling me they know the truth. Well, we do need to have a teacher. Now, this is the next question. I have 1,000 different people. I have Swami so-and-so, Reverend so-and-so, Rabbi so-and-so, all these different people. Oh, I have the truth. Well, we do need to discern which of them do have the truth, which of them do not have the truth. Do any of them have the truth? You see? How do we do this? understand the quality of what does an individual look like when they do have the truth. Does that make sense? So, Reverend so-and-so tells you, oh, I have the truth. You examine Reverend so-and-so's life. He spends half his time when he's not on the pulpit looking at pornography on the internet, you know, and you can imagine and go on and on. In other words, he's not living the truth. You reject Reverend so-and-so, you see. And in this process, this winnowing process of little by little narrowing down, okay, I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for. I've defined it. I've checked my own heart. I understand. I'm looking for the highest. This person, he claims he has the highest. Let me look at the person's thoughts. You can look at a person's thoughts. There are ways of doing this. You look at the person's words, you look at the person's actions, and you see, do they correspond with an individual who would indeed know that highest? You see. How do you make that correspondence? Look at the attributes of that highest. Remember we were talking about, you know, is that highest evil or good? Well, it's good. Is that highest of ignorance or of wisdom? In that way, see if that individual has those attributes. Is that person someone who is morally good or bad? Is that person someone who has wisdom or has its opposite? Is that person someone who has a lack of harmony in their own being, meaning that they say one thing, they live another, you see? And truthfully, we can go on and on like this for a very long time, but I think you're getting the idea. Never feel powerless. It doesn't matter if you have a million so-called spiritual authorities before you, all saying different things and claiming this is the truth. You have the power to discern. You really do. It's so sad that in our day and age, because we have so many messages coming to us, the internet, you know, cable TV, all these various things, satellite TV, most of us have just given up. And we just try our best. You know, we just kind of take little bits and pieces here. Well, yeah, what this person said, well, that sentence made sense. And well, that sentence made sense. Oh, here's a whole paragraph. You know, that whole paragraph. Let me take this, take that, and let me hope I can construct something. And of course, you never can, really. So we mustn't give up, despite the fact that we have so many seeming millions of voices coming at us. You know, who is this guy, Harold Camping? Oh, the world's going to end May 21st. You know, what do we do now? Do we give up? Oh my God, the world didn't end. That means that they're all lying. Oh, that's silly. Of course they're not all lying. Because one lied, because maybe even the majority lie. That does not mean that they are all lying. You see? So we mustn't give up, you know. This is a hallmark of true spirituality. And everyone, please make a mental note of this. This is a hallmark of true spirituality. Nothing is left out. You have a whole, not parts, not bits, not pieces. If you go to a spiritual teacher, if you go to a philosophy, a philosopher, and well, there's a little bit of truth there, you know, that's nice, but that is not expressing full truth. When you know know that you are facing truth, what you find is a whole, nothing fractured. You find an individual who, in everything that they do, in everything that they say, they are personifying truth. And more, with what they are saying, they have a worldview that encapsulates all of reality. Not just how to make sense of our few little anxiety problems in the Western world in the last 40 years. The Oprahfication of spirituality. You know? No. Not just fad spirituality. Not just, oh, it works right now. It must be something that is universal, that is complete, that is whole. That's the nature of philosophy, in the greatest sense of that term. Philosophy not meaning going to a philosophy department at a university and, you know, listening to some boring lecture. Philosophia, the love of wisdom. Philosophy in the truest sense of that term. Philosophia. Philosophy means the love of wisdom. That you know you have truth when your questions are satisfied. when you have Siddhanta, to end this talk, when you have the conclusion. And not because I said so, you said so, but because you have the whole, and there's satisfaction. All right? Does that help someone?